like a gray thing, but I want to prepare for it so that when I do transition, it'll be easy to like do it.
Yeah.
So let me see.
Are we doing a haircut too, Sheila?
A little bit.
Just a trim, whatever's like.
Yeah, whatever you need to. I just got it trimmed like in January.
What's your color history?
So baby lights throughout, and then she'll do touch-ups every few months or so. This last one was at the salon, and she did
roots.
Yeah, she did roots. Right before that, I couldn't get into the salon, so I did like the Madison Reed touch-up stuff. Yeah. But usually, I go into the salon for the roots, and then she'll do some like touch-ups for the highlights.
Okay. Were your highlights lighter than this when they were initially done?
So prior to COVID, my hair was platinum blonde.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. But it's been a while. I had cut it.
Do you normally just get this color though?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is just like the toners like washed out probably.
Are you looking to stop covering the dark to your gray? Is that your goal? Or do you mind having that maintenance?
I would like less maintenance. I think right now I do need to continue to cover, but I'm probably gonna have to go lighter.
Okay, so like a mushroomy brown, if possible. Okay. I think what we should do, since you're kind of more gearing towards like covering it, I would do like a demi in between the highlights, see if you can get away with that first.
Yeah.
That way it'll be like, you'll still see the white, but they won't be like completely covered.
Yeah,
it'll be like more, it'll like just be like, it won't be as white, it'll be like colored, kind of like a brownish, translucent color.
Kind of like it is now. I don't know if you could tell like what my growth is gonna what it would look like. I mean,
what do you mean?
Like my gray?
Yeah, I can see it.
Is it a lot?
No. You definitely have more cover than salt.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Like, you definitely still have more dark. So that's why I would do like the demi. And then, did you like the placement of her hair in that photo?
I just want it to be as least noticeable as possible right now. If we need to go lighter, we can. I don't mind that.
I just don't know if your hair will get lighter because of we'll have to see how light it gets. I'm gonna go from there, and then I can tone you to be as ashy as possible, like shimmy as possible. Okay. But would you want to do the demi then, or you want to skip it and then see if next time like your grays in between were bugging you, we could add in the demi?
So, I don't have the demi now though, right?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So you want to just try without it and see?
No, I mean, what's that gonna look like?
You'll have the color, the highlights, and then your grays in between it, but it'll be light, like here with yours in between. And you don't have like white patches or anything. I usually do that when a client has like white patches, and you don't. It's pretty like peppery all over. So I feel like the highlights would be enough to blend.
To like offset it a bit? Okay.
Yeah, normally with this amount of gray, most of my clients don't do it. Yeah.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So here is a brand new client who has some permanent color history, some at-home color, and some grown out highlights. I would say she has definitely more pepper than salt. So we're going to work on blending out her growth and just get her something that is going to be a lot lower maintenance. From our consultation, we kind of went a little bit back and forth on what to do because she wasn't really sure how incorporating a demi with the highlights would look on her versus how it is right now. And for me, the reason why I suggested it at first was because she kept using the words that she wanted her roots to be covered, and when a client says that, I normally kind of gravitate on having more of a darker root, but then she kind of leaned towards having something that was going to be still light and preferred something more low maintenance. So then we kind of went back and forth to finally ultimately decide not to do the demi. And I normally will always recommend trying to do the least amount of color at first, and then later you can always add in extra. And what I mean by that is, if we were to do no demi, just doing her highlight placement to kind of blend her gray, without adding in the demi, that would ultimately create a softer grow out because there is no dark color that is going to be going in between these highlights to make the grow out a little bit more higher maintenance. So normally I would do the demi in between on a client who really has more than, I would say, 75% gray, has more white patches that are very visible. opposed to a client that has a lot more pepper, because ultimately the demi does give a very sheer coverage. It's not as opaque as like a permanent color. It's definitely not as harsh, but it can make the grow out a little bit more high maintenance versus not doing it at all, because essentially when you leave your gray hairs in between the highlight placement that I do, it essentially helps blend the color, because there is some sort of light connection from the hairs in between that are your gray hairs in between the highlights that kind of just create a very soft grow out, and that's what ultimately gives that look to where when your grays grow in, it doesn't look like a harsh grow out. It really just looks like more highlights coming in because they're already in the color itself and blended in. And that's what makes gray blending so soft and seamless, is having those hairs in between. What the demi does is you still see those hairs in between, but they are now sheerly covered. And when I say sheerly covered, it's not like they're just all dark. You can see the placement of where your white hairs are, but now they might be look like a highlight and more of a brownish tone, depending on what demi formula you ultimately get. But like I was saying before, I normally don't recommend a client to get everything and add on a lot of different services to a color if they really don't need it. And I personally just didn't feel like she needed to do the demi based off of her gray pattern. I felt like she didn't have a lot of white, so that's why in the end I kind of suggested to just try to not have it first, and then we could always add it later, because I want her to see how soft it grows in without it. And again, with gray blending and doing a transformation like this, especially on clients who have never done it before, it does become a trial and error at first, because sometimes what you might think you like, and once you have it on you, you might not like it, and that's totally fine. But you wouldn't know unless you tried. And if a client is not sure and kind of going back and forth, I always say to just start off with the least amount of color, so that we could see and build on top of that what extra services you may need to make your hair feel its best. So if you're new here, I'll just quickly go over my placement. So I normally start in the back. I do a few foils around the nape, taking a center section mohawk section up the back and connect it all the way to the front. And for her placement, she wanted something more dimensional. So in the back below the crown, I did slices, and everything on top of the crown I am weaving. And her front pieces, I did some baby lights back to back, and then to connect the rest of the mohawk, I did more of medium sized weaves. So now I'm moving on to the side money piece. I did 2 baby lights back to back, and now I am going in with a slice behind for that third front piece to kind of just give it a little bit more of a lighter effect towards the front. And now I'm going to connect the front and the back foils right above the ear. For this foil, I always like to weave this part, because it just creates a lot of softness around her whole hairline, especially if she were to put her hair up. And then I'm going to continue doing some slices up until I reach the top. And I love doing this placement because it just saves me a lot of time versus splitting up the back into 2 sections. So her hair actually lifted pretty light. We got her to pretty much a clean level 9, I would say. And so we're going to be using the Danger Jones gloss toners for her formulation. And we are going to be doing a root tap. I used the 5-1 for her root smudge, and we applied it all over, away from the hairline, and then we did a lighter formula for the mids and ends that I apply on the mids first and then on the ends. For that end formula, we did 9-12 with some 6-01. And I really love using the Danger Jones gloss toners because it's super easy to blend and brush out the hair, makes the hair super shiny, and it processes within 10 minutes.
How does it feel, Sheila? Oh my god. You like it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's different. I was kind of like, I wasn't expecting that at all.
Alrighty guys, so here is the finished look for our placement and mushroom brown tone. I love that we did a little bit more of a lighter blend on the ends and more of a dimensional towards the root. You can see even though we didn't do the demi, everything blends so seamlessly and pretty. And this will grow out really soft against her natural gray pattern. But she still has the option to do the demi in the future, depending on how she feels with the grow out, or depending on how she's feeling with what type of maintenance she's looking for. Alrighty guys, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in. And as always, I will talk to you guys next week.